Hello, everyone. I am very happy to welcome you to this webinar tonight. My name is Sue Hegland, and I'm a board member with the Upper Midwest branch of IDA. And our presenter tonight is going to be a young lady named Rachelle Johnson, who is a high school student from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Rachelle is going to be talking with us about dyslexia and ADD and how she views them as obstacles and not roadblocks to academic success. So you have joined us via GoToWebinar, the software that we're using, and you should see a control panel in the GoToWebinar window that's on your computer. Your microphone is muted right now, so any noise on your end cannot be heard by anyone else. But if you have a question, you can type it into the questions tab on that control panel anytime during the presentation. I will be watching for questions during Rachelle's talk, and we'll ask Rachelle about some of them when she's finished her presentation. I also want to let you know that we're recording tonight's webinar, and we'll be sending you an email once there's a link on our website and it's ready to watch. On behalf of the IDA UMB Board of Directors, I want to tell you that we are really grateful that we can provide this webinar series to you free of charge. We are able to do this because all of our speakers very generously donate their time and their expertise to IDA and to you. And we want you to know that your membership dollars and your donations make it possible for our branch to operate and for us to provide this service and many others. If you are already a member of the International Dyslexia Association, or if you have donated to us in the past, we really want to thank you very much. Your contributions make a huge difference in what we do. If you haven't become a member or made a contribution, please consider doing that this year. Our annual conference is also coming up in New Brighton, Minnesota on April 8th. And members do receive a discount when they register for that. So now I'd like to introduce Rachelle to you. Rachelle Johnson is a high school sophomore, and she is the founder of a club at her high school called Unique Learners Rising Above. The mission of this club is to help students with learning differences achieve academic success. Rachelle will tell you her story, but I will tell you that she is passionate about passing along the things that she has learned that have helped her to achieve. She wants to help others to be comfortable being different, to use tools and accommodations, and to learn the skills of self-advocacy. Rachelle's career goal is to work someday in the field of diagnosing learning disabilities and to help kids like her reach their full potential. We are absolutely delighted to have Rachelle with us tonight. And Rachelle, thank you for being here, and over to you.
Hello, my name is Rachelle Johnson, and this is Dyslexia, ADD, an obstacle, not a roadblock to academic success. I am a 10th grader at Eden Prairie High School, diagnosed with dyslexia, ADD, and anxiety, and I am founder and president of the club Unique Learners Rising Above, which is for students at Eden Prairie High School to become academically successful. My background is I struggled academically from the start. My parents did everything they could to help me, and I was taught at a young age to be comfortable with who I am and never to let my learning disabilities hold me back. Today I slowly started to achieve academic success. As you can see in these graphs, this is my testing from 2nd grade through 8th grade. As you can see, especially in reading, at the beginning I was far behind many of my classmates, but over the years I slowly caught up and actually passed my district average. Now I'm a sophomore with a 3.97 GPA and taking some honors and AP classes. Early years. I struggled from the beginning. I knew I was different. I struggled from the beginning. I had delays with learning average things like tying shoes, riding bikes, and recognizing sounds. My parents saw from the beginning that I was different, and they thought that there may be something else going on, like learning disabilities. Kindergarten and 1st grade teachers told me dismissed concerns and told me I would catch on and that I was just a late bloomer. Family friends were worried about being labeled disabled. Before diagnosis, I struggled from the start. I knew I was different, and I couldn't read. I felt dumb compared to my classmates and didn't want to look different. I just wanted to fit in. I checked out the same book repeatedly and pretended to read in class. Often, when kids were reading their first chapter books, I would still be reading picture books, so I would check out the same book and pretend. I didn't like school, and I dreaded going. I often had headaches and would have to leave school early because they would get so bad. I started Organ Gillingham tutoring even in kindergarten before my diagnosis. Early diagnosis is really important. In second grade, my teacher noticed my struggles and suggested that I have a school evaluation for dyslexia. When I was diagnosed dyslexic, my parents were told I'd have to fail before I'd get accommodations and help. We pursued an independent diagnosis with IDA and PACER was granted a 504. In fourth grade, we added anxiety and moved up to an IEP. Elementary school. In elementary school, I was co-taught at home to keep up with my classmates by my mom. My mom researched everything she could to find out ways to help me with my dyslexia and ADD. She went to support groups and read books on how to help me. I was put in Title I pullout, which is where I was pulled out of the room during the day to work on things like reading. We also convinced the school to offer a community ed keyboarding class to help students like me learn how to keyboard. Reading. Reading was a huge struggle for me. I read as much as possible to catch up with my classmates. I set a book goal on what level of books I would read and how many books I would read a year. I read out loud every day before and after school. One thing that we did was I had book club playdates, which is one way that my parents tricked me into reading. Me and my friend would get together every Friday, and we would pick out books that we would read during the week. If we didn't finish the book, we wouldn't get to play during the playdate. This motivated me to read and keep up. Also, my friend was a higher reader than me, and often we would read books that were a little above my level. This also challenged me to get better at reading. We also hired a high school neighbor to come over and read with me and help me with my homework on the weekends. We also listened to books in the car, which helped with my vocabulary. Spelling and handwriting. I did sandboard spelling practice to help with learning to spell, where we would put sand on a pan and I would write with my fingers in it. Probably today you would more likely use apps, but that was what I used. When we would have spelling tests, I would often study for maybe a week or two before the test and study really hard, but then the day after the test I would forget everything I had learned. Handwriting and spelling are still a challenge for me today. I learned to keyboard as much as possible, and this helped with my handwriting and spelling. Even after I was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADD, I still was having problems. We realized I had low memory. I was in the 20th percentile in short-term and long-term memory. I went to LingerX to help me with memory training. Improving my memory allowed me to remember what I had learned. including rules of the English language, which helped me to learn to read faster. In early elementary school, in kindergarten, I used to do dance. This was one of the first times we realized I had low memory. We would record the dance, and I would practice for hours at home just to forget the moves. I eventually dropped out because I could not remember it. We added an ADD diagnosis when I was in 4th grade. I was a quiet child who just flew under the radar, and you would never expect to have ADHD because I was not hyperactive. Scales showed that I had possible attention difficulties, but me being the first child, my parents did not know what typical attention looked like. My parents were hesitant to put me on meds, and we pursued more sophisticated testing. So additional testing proved I could not pay attention, and I had very low attention skills. Once I was put on meds, I immediately saw an improvement in my learning, including my reading fluency. When I was tested for ADD, I was in the 0.01 percentile in attention. My parents could not believe it was this low. This picture I like because it really outlines how it is reading with a student with ADHD. I go through this every time I read a book, and every single one of these, every time. I would want to read the book, and then I would forget the book, reread it, forget, lose the book, just over and over again. And it was really frustrating because I really wanted to read. I just couldn't get myself to do it. Elementary school accommodations. In elementary school, I started having accommodations. Some accommodations I had were preferential teacher placement, where the school would choose teachers that they thought would be good for me and would be best help with my struggles. I also had preferential seating in the front of the room, extended time on tests. I was offered shorter assignments and spelling tests. I was offered shorter assignments and spelling tests, but I refused them because you do not learn and catch up with your classmates by doing less. I had the ability to leave the room when overwhelmed or needed a break. I was also started using more technology. I got an iTouch when they came out and was trained on how to use it to help me with my disabilities and also to learn about my ADHD. Many students, think that accommodations are unfair, especially students who don't have them, and I guess non-learning disability students. I think of accommodations like glasses. You wouldn't tell a student who had a hard time seeing, it's unfair, you get glasses, you can see better. This is like accommodations. It just levels the playing field for everyone. You wouldn't tell someone with glasses they couldn't use them. In 4th grade is when things started to click. As you can see in this graph, in early elementary school I was way behind my peers, but in 4th grade is the year when I pushed through my peers and caught up. I had accepted who I was, and I was okay with being different, and I wanted to reach my full potential. 5th and 6th grade accommodations. In 5th and 6th grade, I started using more technology. This was before schools gave out laptops and iPads. So I brought with my own laptop to school every day to help me with writing. I used Kurzweil for text to voice. This made it easier because before I would often write something down, go home, and then when I tried to type it, I often couldn't even read my own handwriting. I used Spelling City for practice spelling, and through my IEP, I had a second teacher in the room for math and reading to help with my anxiety. Middle school. Before, I was really nervous about going to middle school, and I wasn't sure how that would work with my learning differences. Prior to middle school, in the spring of 6th grade, we requested an IEP meeting to discuss how middle school would go. We decided to do a guided study hall in place of foreign language. This was very good for me because as a student who had so much struggled so much to learn the English language and how to write and read it, it was almost impossible for me to learn how to write and read in another language. I also decided to loop in 7th and 8th grade, which means I had the same teachers in 7th grade and 8th grade. This worked well for me because then in 8th grade, my teachers already knew me and knew what I might need help with. I also had a flipped math class, which meant I had the video lecture at home and practiced in class. This took away a lot of my anxiety because I could watch the video as many times as I wanted, and then if I had questions, I was able to ask them in class. In middle school, I had somewhat caught up to my peers in reading, but I was still much slower than most students. I was probably 2 to 3 times slower in reading than most kids. So we decided that it was more important for me to understand the book instead of the actual reading of it. So we tried audiobooks for both novels and textbooks. In 7th grade, we started having iPads. The iPads helped me a lot. I used the iPad for my planner, which worked quite well because I could read my planner, and also I didn't have to worry about forgetting my planner at school. Also, often I would forget to turn in assignments on time, but with online submissions on the iPads, I didn't forget to turn in assignments as often. Alarms on the iPads also helped me a lot. I would set reminders every day for things like taking my meds and to leave for the bus on time. This helped me to stay organized and on top of everything. I also used alarms for things like studying for tests. Some apps I used in middle school were Spelling City, Notability, which I did many worksheets on, and iStudios flashcards. I liked iStudios flashcards because you could either make your own set of flashcards, or you could also import flashcard sets from Quizlet that your teacher had made. You could doodle on them, and also you could quiz yourself. Staying organized was very important in middle school. For the first time, I was switching classrooms and had a locker instead of a desk. I started color coding everything. In fact, I had one color for each subject. In fact, I still use the same colors as I chose in 7th grade. I had duplicates of many things. For each subject, I would have a binder, and I had a pencil case in each binder with everything I would need for that class, like pencils or a calculator or an eraser. I also had 3 hole punches in them so I could directly hole punch everything into the binder. I had duplicate textbooks at home, so I wouldn't have to remember to bring them back and forth. I used the calendar app to break down assignments and to plan how long each one would take. I would plan ahead and needed to stay organized. if I needed extra time on tests. Exercise. In middle school, I discovered that exercise really benefited me academically. When I wasn't in an activity after school, I would often find myself with a lot of time on my hands, more time to get distracted, and I was less motivated to get working on my homework. Then I would have too much energy to sit back down and start and get focused. With an activity after school, I could get out all my energy, and once I got home, I was ready to continue on my homework. This also helped with my anxiety, because often at school when I was stressed out, once I went to a sport after school, I could forget about school, and I was just in that moment playing that sport, and I had a team around me, and I didn't have to worry about school. This summer, I did a survey on how teens around the Midwest with learning disabilities study and do homework. And these are the results. Hours studied per night. With studying per night, the thing is with learning disabilities is it is a big range, and it all depends on what type of classes you take. If you are taking, a lot of students with learning disabilities take special ed classes and often have maybe not any homework. But also, it can also be the other way around, where students with learning disabilities take harder classes, and it will take them studying can take about 2 times as long as an average student if you have learning disabilities. So there's a wide range of studying. Some note-taking strategies are these. I find many of these very helpful. I use almost all of these. Some that I use is I do like graph paper versus line paper. It keeps me more organized. I use flashcards, especially ones online. Color coding and visual images are very helpful, especially since I'm such a visual person. Accommodations. The most common accommodation, it looks like, is extended time on tests. This can be very helpful since a lot of the time things just take longer for a student with learning disabilities to finish. The lowest is modified assignments and curriculum. This makes sense because you don't learn and catch up with your classmates by doing less. You have to do more. Technology. Many schools now are giving students laptops and iPads, which is very beneficial academically. I use all of these, and audiobooks are very helpful with not taking as long to read. And online lectures are like the flipped classroom. In the class, students would describe the classroom as the teacher is understanding, available, and responsive, which I'm very happy about because it depends on the school district, but most teachers are usually very understanding to your learning disability. The environment is usually controlled and quiet. Many students use technology as their tools for academic success. Communication is really important for success. Some students prefer emailing because you can have that, because you don't have to talk to the teacher right in front of all the other students in the classroom. But sometimes direct communication with the teacher will understand what you're trying to get across more clearly. A case manager or a counselor can be really helpful in communicating with your teachers, and IEP meetings and school conferences are always helpful. Keeping track of assignments. Most students prefer a written planner, but students also use multiple online methods of keeping track of their homework. Motivation for completing homework. One of the biggest struggles about doing homework is sometimes just motivating yourself to get started. Sometimes you need frequent breaks or a set time limit or a routine. Sometimes looking at the bigger picture can also help you to finish it. The location and time of homework. This is all a personal choice. Some people find that they need it away from distractions, or sometimes they need it in a bedroom or a desk. Some people like different times of the day. Some people are most motivated right after school, after a break, or in the evening. This all just depends on your personal preference. High school. High school prep. Before transitioning to high school in the spring of 8th grade, we had a IEP meeting to discuss how high school would go. In high school, we had a transition meeting. I decided that I wanted to go to a big state college, and I realized that many colleges required a language requirement. But many colleges accept American Sign Language as a foreign language, so I decided to take this, and I found out that I absolutely love it. Choir I also take because I love to sing, which is a nice break in the day. Also, it is a half period, so I have the second half open to meet with teachers and get the extra help I need. I also decided to plan my math courses around flipped classroom because I knew that was what worked for me. High school. In high school, I have a case manager, which is very helpful in accommodating and getting the help I need. We also have a block schedule, which works very well to help balance my schedule and take the classes I love. I also have a second teacher in English, and which helps with my anxiety and getting things like audiobooks I need for the class. In 9th grade, I also had a teacher in my math class, but as you get to the higher math classes, there is less and less students that need a second teacher in the room for math, so they no longer offer it at my level of math. I also am still in flip math, and in high school we have a laptop instead of an iPad. The laptop is better for my writing, and I use Quizlet for flashcards, voice to text, and text to voice, often for things like articles we have to read online. I also still use audiobooks, but it takes a lot of planning ahead. The value of a case manager. A case manager can be a great tool for academic success. If you do have one, make sure you get to know her. They can't help you if they don't know you. They can help with teachers who don't understand. I have had multiple teachers not understand me and not give me the accommodations I need. When a teacher doesn't understand you, it's great to have someone to go to who can talk to them and help you get the help you need. It's also a great place to go when you're stressed. They can help with specific needs like audiobooks or class notes. They also, if they also know you, so they can also help with scheduling and also planning for the future. Self-advocacy is really important, and I would say that is one of the main reasons I have become successful. You need to communicate with your teacher, and I often talk to my teacher the first day of school, either face-to-face or through email. This way the teacher knows what help you will need. Sometimes a teacher may not purposely not give you the accommodations you need, but when they don't, make sure to stand up for yourself. If you work hard, if you show an interest in the class and doing well, and you work hard, teachers are going to want to help you. If you ask for accommodations and a teacher still does not help you get them, then you need to get some help. I've had multiple teachers in the past not give me accommodations once I have asked for them because it's inconvenient for them or they think it is unfair. When this happens, it's good to ask politely at first. Explain why you need them and that you're interested in doing well in the class. If they still don't agree, and you have told them multiple times that you need these and they help you do better, then you need to contact your case manager. In extreme cases, what I have done, which works quite well, is to email your teacher, your case manager in class, and put your teacher on copy. I do not recommend this right away, but if your teacher is not helping at all and there is a problem, if they see that you are contacting your case manager, they will most likely help you right away, because if they don't, they will get in trouble. High school accommodations. I do a lot of keyboarding for my high school accommodations. Any writing assignment I get to type. Some teachers don't understand this quite at first, but once a teacher sees my handwriting, most teachers are gladly willing to let me type it. I also use audiobooks for both textbooks and novels. I get front row seating, which is very helpful with my ADD. This helps me pay attention and not get as distracted in class. I also have extended time on tests and the ability to do the test in a separate room and the ability to have the test read to me. I also get class notes, which is a huge stress reliever because it takes off the stress of having to keep up with writing down all the notes in class. Beyond high school, it is very important to document everything. I started documenting in early elementary school. We requested case managers to write a letter every year with the accommodations I used and how they helped me. If you email your teacher, put your case manager on copy, because this is also showing more accommodating. Your case managers are also more willing to help you if they see that you have tried on your own first. It is also written proof. We documented everything, even my test scores from 2nd grade. I could tell you how long I took on the tests. Doing all this documenting made it so I have double time for the This enabled me to get double time on the college board for the PSAT, SAT, and AP. It definitely pays off to get all this written down. Plan ahead. Know yourself and what works for you. When visiting colleges, make sure to visit the disabilities office and see how they help students with learning disabilities. Plan ahead early for disabilities testing. I know that for college for me, it will be important to see how they support disabilities. Visit a variety of schools and also consider what is appropriate for you and what is a realistic schedule to achieve your goals. Today, I still struggle. My biggest struggle today is anxiety. I have anxiety about keeping up with my classmates and keeping up with my classmates in school. I have trouble working without a deadline, and I have very messy handwriting and poor spelling, to the point where often I can't even read my handwriting. It takes me longer than most kids to do homework and testing, sometimes even to the point of 2 times as long. Summary and keys to success. It is important to get educated on your disability. Don't expect the school to offer everything. Most of the things that we found out about dyslexia and ADD, we found out through books and through outside resources. The school will not tell you everything about your IEP, and they won't offer every accommodation out there. You need to be the expert on your disability and what you want in your IEP and 504. Don't expect the school to solve your learning struggles. Invest in outside help. The school may offer some reading help in school, but you need to do some outside stuff so you can become successful. Invest in your future. It's important to accept who you are. You are different, and that's important to accept. I know I am different, but that's okay. Once you accept who you are, you'll be able to continue and achieve success. Use your accommodations and don't worry about what other people think. Accept it and be okay with it. And don't worry about what others think. If people think it's weird that you have to leave the room or something like that for the test, that's okay. You don't have to explain yourself. Work harder, not less. You don't catch up with your peers by doing less. You need to read more. Don't dumb it down. And don't make excuses. Find the tools that work for you. Explore, reflect, and then continue to learn. Control your destiny. Learn the skills of self-advocacy. And show an interest in academic success. If you show an interest, people will be interested in helping you. Be proactive. Speak up for yourself. Don't let teachers not help you. And deliver every day. Sorry. In conclusion, dyslexia and ADD are not a roadblock to academic success. They're only an obstacle that you need to get around. You can't completely cure your learning disabilities, but there are many things you can do to be successful. It all starts with being okay with who you are, doing more, not less, and getting the help you need.
Rachelle, that was really terrific. I just have to tell you that we've had many comments already saying to thank you so much for all the information you provided, that you're really a wealth of information. I'm seeing bravo, you are inspirational, and really, this was really a great presentation. I'll tell you that we have a lot of webinars that we do, and we often don't have people staying all the way to the end, and I'll tell you, everybody stayed to hear your whole presentation. So now we have a couple questions that people wanted to ask you. The first one was really about what is flipped math and how does that work?
Yeah, this is a math class where the traditional math class would be in class, the teacher gives a lecture on how to do the math, and then you go home and do the worksheet and do practice problems. In a flipped math class, you go home and you watch a video on how, like, the lecture is on a video that the teacher records, and then you take notes, and then when you go to class the next day, you have your homework in class, and you get to get help with your homework and ask questions. It can be good and bad depending on the student. Students who use this need to be, if a student's not going to watch the videos, it's not good, but for students who need question time, it's really great.
Thank you. That's great. Was that something that was available for any student to take, or was that something that, was it just part of your high school, or was it something that was set up in particular to allow students with dyslexia or other learning differences to have that available?
It all depends on the teacher, because the teacher makes the videos. So at middle school, my teacher was one of the only teachers who had flipped, which was amazing for me. So depending on the math class, teachers decide to do flipped or not. So I have decided to take classes depending on if they're flipped or not. So it's just a teacher's choice.
Sounds great. I'm going to share one more comment with you just because I think you should hear it. Someone wrote, "Thank you so much for sharing your story. We will share this with our 9-year-old daughter. You are truly an inspiration. Your parents must be so proud of you, and you should be very proud of yourself." And people really are appreciating what you're telling them, Rachelle. Another question that came in was, how many years of Orton Gillingham tutoring did you have?
I think I did it so I started in the summer after kindergarten, before I was diagnosed, through probably 4th grade.
Okay, great. Someone else was asking, how do you get a case manager? What grade do you have to be in to get a case manager? I'm betting that is different in every district, but what was your experience?
My experience is, well, I got a case manager. At our school, you get a case manager if you have an IEP. So the IEP is pretty much the same as the 504, but with a case manager. I guess it depends on the school, but I've always had one. Okay, I would talk to the school.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were still talking.
I would just contact your school and inquire about that.
Great. A couple people have asked about Learning RX, and I just have to make a little note on an IDA official note that what I think the research that's out there has not shown Learning RX in statistically has made a difference for students, but it sounds like it may have made a difference for you. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was?
Well, I found it helped me, especially with my low memory. So, yeah, I did that for about a year, and yeah, I would say that helped me a lot.
Okay, that's good to know. Can you tell us a little bit about the club that you founded and what your club does?
Yeah, sure. Well, I started it last year, about a year ago, and we started off as just a group, and I started it because I saw students like me in a lot of my classes who I knew had learning disabilities, because you just kind of, over the years when they're in the same class as you every year, you kind of notice which ones do. But and I noticed that a lot of them weren't using their accommodations and weren't standing up for themselves, and they just weren't out there about it. And so I wanted to start a club where students could meet other students like them and get the tools they needed to be successful. So we have meetings once a month, and we have presenters come in and talk on different topics, like we've had motivation, mindfulness, homework strategies, organization, multiple topics, and then we have a discussion about that.
Great. How many students are in the club?
I think we have about 10 people show up to each meeting, and I think in all, we probably have like 13 people.
Okay, great. And I'm just thinking about, I know that a lot of the parents who have commented have said things like either their son or daughter is either watching with them, or they know that they're going to enjoy looking at it when they have a chance later. So I wonder if you have any advice for kids who would want to do something like that at their high school. Is there a good way to get something like that started that you could, how did you get that started?
Well, I, in ninth grade, contacted my case manager and I told her I had this idea of starting a club for students, and she really liked the idea. So we contacted the principal, and he really liked it. But because we started it halfway through the year, we couldn't be a club, so we were just like a group in the school. So, but then we got approved as a club this last spring to be this year a club. And I think there's not anything like this at high schools. And there's so much of a need for it that like every single teacher I ever talked to about it is like totally on board. Like I've even had teachers like be like, oh, I'd be willing to be a presenter anytime. Like just everyone just hopped right on board.
I think that's such a great idea. And there was one parent who just shared that that she found out that not only are the students needing to connect with other people who are in a similar situation, the parents often don't really have anyone to talk to. So at her school, they started a parent support group, and they call it Club 504, Club 504. And that's really helped them and helped their kids kind of view themselves differently. So she was really glad to hear that you had done something similar for students. So it's great.
Like I know even like the Title I pull-up for me was even just helpful for me to see that there were other students who struggled in the school. And just knowing that other students are going through the same thing is really helpful to know and not feel as discouraged. And also, with learning disabilities, everyone has a different way and different tools that they use. So if we all can share those ideas and collaborate on ideas, everyone will just do so much better.
Rachelle, that's a terrific way to end the webinar. I think you have shared so much with parents and kids to help them, and we really, really appreciate your time and your effort on this presentation, and wish you good luck on finals tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone for attending. I'm really glad you had a chance to be here to hear what Rachelle had to share with us, and we will be making this available on our website soon. Hopefully we'll see you at a webinar soon. Good night, everyone.